Hi folks, thought I'd like to introduce you to Tesla's Pulse Detonation engine. Me and YouTuber iEnergy Supply have been prototyping this for a little while. It's from Tesla's Valvular Conduit patent. We've decided to make the combustion chamber external for now so we can play around with all the variables and work out where we go. This has got LPG input, a gauge input, an outlet and an air input. So what needs to be connected to this is two Tesla valves, one for the LPG and one for the air, and the three components, the combustion chamber and the two Tesla valves plus the spark plug, form Tesla's Pulse Detonation engine. It's an engine with no moving parts, and yeah, that plug's got the end chopped off because I've built Aaron Murakami's plasma ignition system, which isn't needed, but it has been proved that using plasma ignition you can get much better spark, so that's got to be a good thing. I'll show you what's going on inside here. Well, I'll try. I'm not left-handed, by the way, so yeah, it's made out of billet aluminium. It's a two-piece combustion chamber. The design is open source. I'm going to be adding the files to a link to my Dropbox. Anyone can make this. It's the simplest engine to exist with no moving parts. So you can see the spark plug just comes, so the leg's been chopped off, so you can have a leg on it if you want, but you can even get proper plasma ignition spark plugs that do exist. If you notice, this step sits into this recess, so you can see which one's the outlet. So the outlet is here, and the reason for that is I studied Nikola Tesla's Valvular Conduit patent. I also studied his later work from 1921, his British patents, and he had an assistant who did a turbine patent just after Tesla's death. He had basically this converging nozzle in the combustion chamber seems to be a common feature. And Tesla also claims that if you use a smaller combustion chamber, you can get the pulse rate higher. YouTuber iEnergy Supply has already got a pulse rate of 290 pulses per second, so 290 hertz. That actually puts this in the pulse detonation engine rather than pulse jet engine category. And Tesla claims thousands of pulses can be obtained. Well, so far with what YouTuber Energy Supply's got at 290 hertz, that's the equivalent of a 4-stroke cycle engine doing 34,800 RPM, which isn't actually possible mechanically. Formula One's limited to 21,500 so far, from what I can find out. So having no moving parts is what makes this superior. It's also going to be used as a steam boiler. Another interesting feature that we found out is that the faster the pulses are, the colder the flame that exits here. This one's still got to be tested. There's some modifications that can be done to change the combustion chamber size by putting inserts in, and at the minute I'm running a 3mm hole on the LPG, a 6mm hole on the air, a 4mm hole on the outlet, and a 3mm hole on the gauge. So yeah, I mean, we know we want more fuel than air, so it makes sense to, sorry, we want more air than fuel, so it makes sense to have a bigger air port than it does fuel. We've got 2 regulators, one on the LPG, one on the air, because I can use compressed air. So that just fits on there. It's quite a snug fit. And so yeah, so we can adjust the pressure using the regulators for the LPG and the air, and on the end of the Tesla valves there is some needle valves, which you could use needle valves, you could use gate valves, you could use ball valves. Needle valves are the most expensive, but they're also the most accurate. I think they've got 6.5 turns of adjustment on, and they can also be locked off using an Allen key grub screw. The pressure on the LPG, I've got a 1 to 4 bar regulator, which is about £10, pretty cheap. You will not find a cheaper engine than this. The only thing other thing that's needed is a spark plug wire, a coil, and some type of timer circuit that can turn the coil on and off. And if this is adjustable, then that's better, because each combustion chamber, depending on where the pressures and the flow are adjusted to, will have a resonant point. And ultimately what we're looking for is we are looking for the fastest pulse rate obtainable. I mean, already these just using crude components have proved that we can get much faster explosions than anything that a 4-stroke or 2-stroke engine has ever been capable of. So yeah, to be used as a steam boiler for a Tesla turbine, we can trigger cold steam, and this is what Tesla invented this pulse detonation engine for. One of the reasons is to be used as a starter motor to trigger the production of cold steam, which the colder it is, the more rapid it expands. If you can get it to the point where the expansion is fast enough to create its own vacuum because it's moving at supersonic speeds, then the turbine will convert the heat out of the cold steam and into kinetic energy, and that will create a cold sink, and that will maintain the vacuum. So essentially what you could have is a LPG triggered steam boiler to use a tank of water as fuel, not burn it, and then the turbine would condense it back to water and it could be recycled in a loop. The actual energy source is the sun, and the fact that there's 10 plus miles of sky of air bearing down on top of itself, creating atmospheric pressure, and essentially you're tapping into an earth battery. Hard to believe, but the proof will be in the pudding, so stay tuned for some power runs.